sacred gift to break the curse. The Father's heart revealed to us. Oh, what a joyous thing. Oh, what a joyous thing. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Christ the Lord. For he alone is worthy. For he alone is worthy.
Behold the Lamb of righteousness. Let every heart and tongue confess. Let all the earth rejoice. Let all the earth rejoice. May no accusing voice. His resurrection power in us. Triumphant in Jesus' name. Triumphant in Jesus' name. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Christ the Lord. For he alone is worthy. For he alone is worthy. You're so worthy. You're so worthy. And oh, sing, sing of his good news. The heavens have opened. Let all creation praise you. Oh, sing, sing of his goodness. Oh, God of salvation. Let all creation praise you. Oh, sing, sing of the good news. The heavens have opened. Let all creation praise you. Oh, sing, sing of his goodness. Oh, God of salvation. Let all creation praise you. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, Christ the Lord. Jesus, you're so worthy. For he alone is worthy. For he alone is worthy. Let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Oh, come let us adore him. Christ the
Hey everybody, welcome into Pajama Sunday. We hope you had this incredible, blessed Christmas. We know that the year rolls on right after Christmas, and we know that today on New Year's Eve, you might have some plans, some things to get to, so we're really grateful that you're spending the morning with us, really having a conversation. We're doing something different this year with Pajama Sunday. We're going to be tackling conversation really about how to make 2024 even better than 2023 was, because there's this moment in the air when it comes to the end of the year that we just start looking at the past things and wanting to make them better. There's this improvement that kind of pops into all of us. And a lot of times we accept this baby step idea, right? We've been taught that you can't lose all the weight you want to in a day. You can't fix your budget in a day. You can't do anything in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. And a lot of times we settle for this baby step idea about how to improve our lives. But what if 2024 was set aside by God for his people to be radically obedient, to step forward and make big, impactful decisions that actually changed our lives in big, impactful ways? What if instead of baby steps towards healing, we just went towards healing? What if we healed the relationships of the past, were set free from addictions, maybe found a new purpose and a new future, all because we made the big moves along the way that set us up, instead of being content and grateful for baby steps? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to have a discussion with you in your living room. Thanks for inviting us in. But we're going to be basically answering this one big question. What are the big all-in moves that God is calling you to make that can have the biggest impact on your next year? And we're going to be doing that by asking 3 different questions to you and your household. And we're going to actually have the same conversation here right now with Josh and Stuart and myself. And we're going to be asking 3 questions about 3 big all-in moves that a guy in the Bible made. And it's probably a story that a lot of you aren't necessarily familiar with. It's actually King Josiah, which is found in the Old Testament. See, in 2 Chronicles and 2 Kings, we see his story told twice. Now, King Josiah, as his name would indicate, was a king. And he was actually made king at 8 years old. That is as absurd as it sounds, right? I have a 9-year-old at home. We don't trust her to decide what's for dinner, much less be a king or a queen over a whole nation, right? But King Josiah, because his father passed away when he was 8, was made king at 8 years old. What we don't see for a while is nothing happens. Apparently, the 8-year-old king successfully navigated about 8 years of life because the story picked back up when he was 16 years old. And King Josiah got fascinated with his faith, maybe like a lot of you. A lot of people come to faith when they're in youth ministry or in high school or in middle school, and King Josiah wasn't different. When he was 16 years old, he started getting intrigued by the things of God. And he actually found the Word of God, and he read it and poured over basically everything that had been written about God to his people up until then. He found it. And in that moment, he was destroyed because he found out that for generations worth of time, his family had been disregarding the will, the character, and the heart of God. He realized that he needed a different future than his family had set him up for in the past. And in that moment of Josiah's new faith, he had a choice. He could have taken baby steps to work on his faith and kept it personal, or he could have looked for the big, radical, all-in moves that move you forward and impact not just your life, but the lives around us. So we're going to see 3 different acts that King Josiah put into place. And those are the questions we're going to answer. We're going to see that he went all in on trusting God. We're going to see that he went all in on destroying distractions. And then we're going to finally see that he went all in on bringing people along. Guys, so King Josiah, right? This king steps in and he realizes that baby steps while being content and thankful were not enough. So he made 3 big all-in moves. The first one we see actually is that he trusted God. See, 2 Kings 23:3 says that he pledged to obey the Lord by keeping all of his commands, laws, and decrees with all of his heart and soul. You guys see the X factor there, right? It's the all mentioned twice. Josiah didn't decide to obey some of God's commands with some of his heart and soul. No, he went all in with the big, impactful move. So our question today that we're going to ask here and ask you guys. We'll give you time after we answer to actually put 2 minutes on the clock for you guys to answer at home. The question I have for you guys is this. In your lives, why do you struggle to go fully in on obeying God and fully in on trusting God? What gets in the way of that sometimes?
That's a good question. Do you want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go.
Go for it.
Yeah, for me, I don't know that the obeying part is hard, but it's the trusting part. Like, that's the biggest hurdle. Usually it's like, if I feel God's calling me to do something or to make some kind of big move, I'm looking at every situation involved in that. How's that going to impact me? How's it going to impact my family? How's it going to impact my friends? And so I sit there, evaluate, going, God, if you really want me to do this, you're going to have to show in a mighty way that this is going to bring you glory in the process of it. And it's going to help people in the process as well. Once I get that, which God doesn't owe any of that to me, he just calls me to obey. But the moment that I do get that clarity, it's so much easier for me to fall into the obey side of it. And so for me, the hardest part is always the trust. Like, I have to have more trust in, like, man, God, you say, I'll jump. So
yeah, but you're waiting for like all the dominoes to fall before, which is what so often we do. We're like, okay, I'll obey, I'll trust when all the things are ordered for me, as opposed to like, no, I'm just going to trust you fully. That's good. For me, I was processing that what makes it sometimes difficult on the like all in obedience or all in obeying is like, I grew up in a Christian family, and so my upbringing was kind of in the good Christian family, if you will. And for me, what is easy or can become easy is to go, well, I'm obeying here, and here, And yeah, I may not be obeying there, but did you see the other 9 places I am? So like, isn't 9 out of 10 good enough? And so then I think as Christians, sometimes we just let that fly. Yeah. So what Josiah models is the all, right? Yep. You know, that's the X factor that you said. All in, all obedience, all. And I'm like, oh, man, I always feel good like when I'm doing 9 out of 10. I think that's actually our hang up for so many Christians is that we're happy with the 9 out of 10. And we rationalize that that's good enough as opposed to all in. Obedience.
We almost try to play this game of cafeteria style religion. We're going to pick this meal that way, this dish that way. And really, like we see, like the obedience is an all-in factor. It's 10 out of 10,
right?
Or it's not all in.
Yeah.
Which means for some of you guys sitting at home, as you answer this question, it's going to be this idea of how do I go all in on trusting all of God's commands with all of my heart and soul. So we're going to put 2 minutes on the screen. I'm going to let you guys answer the same question now. Well, welcome back in. We just saw that Josiah went all in and trusted God with everything. That was the one first big impactful move he made. Then, for the rest of 2 Kings 23, we see the rest of the chapter is him going on this warpath, making the second big action that God had called him to make. The second all-in move was actually to destroy distractions. And he went on a warpath against everything in his nation that had ever stood outside of God's heart, character, and will. So the rest of that chapter, we see him destroying worship sites to false gods, shrines, altars, idols, statues, even the people that had jobs working at those places. He actually went, destroyed their jobs, and just gave them new jobs. He just moved them away from that place because what he knew was that for him to secure a new future, he had to remove everything from his old past. He knew he had to go completely after that, destroying all of the distractions that stood not just in his way, but in the way of his nation, the people that he was trying to bring to God also. So our second big all-in move is destroying distractions. So let me ask you guys this question. What's one area in your life right now that tends to distract you from God?
Man, do you want to go or you want me to go first?
I mean, I went first last time.
Okay.
So it seems fair.
Okay. So, for me, when I think about the things, destroy distraction, obviously, Josiah, he's going after the ungodly things, right? He's tearing down all these altars to false gods. For us, at least for me, one of the things that distracts me from God is actually, it's what most of us have in our pockets. It's what you right now, while you're at home watching, are probably scrolling on the side at the same time. It's our phones. And here's the deal. There are statistics right now about how we actually have a culture that's dealing with the addiction, a screen addiction. And like I was saying to you guys earlier, like I can't watch a commercial any longer. I can't, like I physically can't do it. A commercial goes on and I just do this. You know, it's like, and I want to distract myself. Yeah. But here's the thing that I'm wondering for myself is, have we created such a distraction oriented culture that we're honestly distract ourselves from God? Mm-hmm. Like we don't even know how to focus in on him any longer because we're like pinballs constantly being distracted. So I find this actually can be the greatest distraction that can keep me from God beyond like the most blatant sins that just have to be torn down and done away with. This is the subtle one that has to be dealt with.
Yeah. So even piggybacking off of that, I would say for me, it's myself. Like I'm the biggest distraction. Like there's this aspect of the FOMO, the fear of missing out, which leads to me grabbing this thing all the time when I'm supposed to be spending time with God. It's like, okay, God, I have set aside this time. It is you and me, no distractions. Let's get real, everything to the side. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, what is happening in the world right now? I need to know before everybody else, because the thing that I hate most is receiving a text message from somebody going, hey, did you hear?
Yeah.
And I'm the secondhand person finding out. Like I love being the type of person that goes,
you want to send the thing. You want to send the text.
I want to send the text. Did you hear? So for me, it's just like there's a selfishness of me getting in the way when God's saying, I need you to start thinking of yourself less. Like you don't have to be the one that's in the know all the time. You don't have to have control of all things. Just sit in this moment with me and journey through life with me in this process. So for me, like, it's weird to say, right? But it's like, I need to almost distract myself so I can make more room for God.
Yeah. And I think this destroy distractions one is probably the one that we're most tempted to accept baby steps in. We're most tempted to say like, I'm further away from that temptation or that old thing or that distraction, right? But again, if 2024 is a year of obedience, it means baby steps might not be enough this year. You have a chance to make a completely overhauled life by making big all-in moves, by destroying distractions. So we're going to give you the same 2 minutes back on the clock at home to go ahead and look at the same question, which again, what's one area in your life right now that distracts you from God? All right, we'll see you on the other side. So we know that so far, King Josiah chose to trust God with everything. He chose to destroy distractions. But the final all-in big move that he made was he decided to bring other people along. Because here's what we know. Life change has a ripple effect, right? And accepting contentment with this idea of life change would be sitting there and saying, I found my faith and I'm moving closer to God. But the all-in move is not to sit on that as your own. As a matter of fact, King Josiah brought the entire nation around to re-spark their faith by starting the celebration of Passover, by re-sparking it, right? It says in 2 Kings 23:22 that after that celebration, there had not been a Passover celebration like that since the time when the judges had ruled Israel, nor throughout all the years of the kings of Israel and Judah. Basically, the generations that had fallen away from God had never experienced a moment of faith and celebration like that. And King Josiah made that happen by not accepting the idea that he could just sit with his faith and live it on his own. Yeah. He knew he needed his life change to lead to the life change of others. So our last big all-in question to ask you guys, and the same thing we'll ask at home, is this. What kind of big moves are you currently making to impact the people around you?
What?
Go for it.
All right, let's go. Yeah, so within our household, we started here in like 2023, moving forward with this idea of we wanted to actually know our neighbors and be known by our neighbors. We're running with this concept in our house of the idea of not only do we want to be the intersection between heaven and earth in our neighborhood, but we want to be the intersection where our neighbors know each other because of us. So we want to see, as time goes on, block parties where we shut down the street. We all gather together for like 4th of July, something like that. And we just do life with each other community-wise and all that. It's something that I actually had growing up. My best friend was right across the street. We knew the neighbors around us pretty well. We would gather together for all types of holiday events and whatnot. But what I've seen as time's gone on, just we become more and more a society that is happy to drive into the garage and close the door and not get connected with anybody around. And for me, it just kind of became just a passion of I want to be that intersection between heaven and earth for people and that bridge between neighbors. So that's how we're moving forward in 2024, is just making that happen.
Yeah. For me, I just, over the years, I've done different types of, obviously, groups, whether it's small groups or whatever. And over the past couple years, I really have seen, greater fruit of just doubling down in relationships and bringing more people around in relationships. And so even, I think this past year, I think I had 3 or 4 groups going simultaneously. And I know it's kind of my role in some way that I can do what I don't expect anyone else to do to that level, but it's because it's that important. And so I look at them like I want every person to be in one group at least, but for me, because I see such fruit of it, I'm trying to do it 3 to 4 times the amount of that I want other people to do, because it is so powerful. And it's powerful in my life to watch God work in me, through me, and the other people that I'm with. It's not like it's a one-way street. They impact me as well, which is huge.
Yeah, and you guys see that King Josiah on Passover, he didn't create something new. Passover had celebrated generations before. All he did was be the one that was brave enough to step forward and go ahead and start the thing that he was already familiar with, restart it. Right. So again, the same question goes to you guys sitting at home. This question of what kind of big moves are you making, or could you make in 2024 to impact the people that are around you? All right, so King Josiah took 3 steps, all in moves to go ahead and impact his world and really fall into a year and a lifetime of obedience. He trusted God with everything. He destroyed distractions that tempted him to go into the past or look away from God. And then ultimately, he brought everybody around with him to go ahead and share his faith. And those same 3 big all-in moves could be yours, especially as we look to make 2024 a year of obedience instead of baby steps. All right, so the last verse that we see in 2 Kings when it talks about King Josiah is this. In 2 Kings 23:25, it said, "Never before had there been a king like Josiah who turned to the Lord with all of his heart and soul and strength, obeying all the laws of Moses. And there has never been a king like him since." See, that promise wasn't his before he took these all-in moves. He could have just been another king that had another entry into the history books, and he could have gone his way. But instead, the Bible records that never before had there been a king like him. And the truth is, if we take those same 3 steps, trusting God with everything, destroying distractions, and bringing other people alongside with us, the same promise could actually be true. And that's what's waiting on the other side of 2024. If we're willing to take that step and go all in with these big time moves to make big time impacts. So the last thing we want to do is really pray that promise over you. Because through those same decisions, you could have the same thing be said about you. Not about King Josiah, but the same verse could be read about you at the end of 2024 if we start now in those big moves. So our prayer over you today is that eventually at the end of 2024, everyone could look around and say this about you, that never before has there been someone like you turning to God with all their heart, soul, and strength. And that's our prayer for 2024. We look forward to seeing you back in the building or online or at VR next Sunday, next Thursday. We can't wait to see you.